The middle class is collapsing at an alarming rate. The rich are getting richer, and the poor are not just becoming poor, they're becoming destitute. We've never seen so many people living in tents or living in their cars as we see today. The homelessness is just exploding. Jobs are collapsing or being taken by AI at an alarming rate. Pensions are collapsing or being used for government debt support, predominantly in Europe and the United Kingdom. The bond market is wobbling as governments are trying but failing miserably to sell their long-term debts, or what they call long-term securities. But here's the problem. No one wants to buy it anymore because the writing is on the wall. At the same time, gold is exploding in price, up 40% in a single year. Bitcoin is exploding, up over 50% in a single year. The S&P and other stock markets are up marginally on the year. This is not normal, ladies and gentlemen. It tells us that we are seeing the breakdown of our very monetary system that we have come to rely on for so long now. Yet the media is hiding this from you. You don't need me to tell you, you can see it for yourself. So let me ask you a question then. Do you ever feel like you're falling behind, even though you're doing everything right? Everything you were told your entire life to do. Go to school, work hard, get good grades, go on to further education or college or university, rack up all that student debt, then get yourself a good job, pay your taxes, get yourself a mortgage and a car payment, and live the dream. Although the question is, are you living the dream? Because for most the answer is no. You're working hard, you're budgeting, you're cutting back, but month after month it's just not enough. Well, you're not alone, my friends, and you're not doing anything wrong either. The middle class, the backbone of American society, and most countries for that matter, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of Europe, is being hollowed out as we speak. And it's happening fast. It's happening at an accelerated rate. So today we're going to break down how and why this is happening, why official numbers are lying to our faces, and what changes you can make to have a better future. So I want to begin then by talking about the truth around employment. And let me begin with a kind of tongue-in-cheek question. Have you ever felt functionally unemployed? No, not unemployed, functionally unemployed. Because what this means is that you have a job, but you still can't afford your basic needs. You're working, but you're barely getting by, and you're definitely not getting ahead. Well, this is a new term being thrown around in monetary circles, and millions of you from many nations around the world are now living in this way. So what does it mean then? It doesn't mean living paycheck to paycheck. It means living paycheck to sleepless nights, worry, or the next crisis or big bill that might come in. Some people are working full-time and yet still living in tents or sleeping in their cars. This is according to the government's own data. This is not me saying it. So when the government claims the unemployment rate is just 4.2%, we all know this is a complete joke. This isn't just the Trump admin that's saying this, by the way. This goes back 4 or 5 administrations. And they are all underreporting the jobless stats because, or should I say they have all underreported the jobless stats because it makes them look better as a government. This isn't left, this isn't right, it isn't red or blue. Everyone has been doing this. In fact, a recent report from the Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity tells a different story. One that sounds a lot more like reality or real life. Because according to their report, the true unemployment rate in the United States isn't 4%. it's 24%. That means that everyone in every 4 working age Americans, or 25%, either can't find full-time work, are stuck in poverty wage jobs, or aren't making enough to survive. So this also includes gig work and other things like that. I mean, you could work a single hour, and I'm not exaggerating this, you can read this report for yourself. You can work a single hour in just 2 weeks, be homeless, and you would still be counted as employed under most governments' metrics of how they measure employment. That's not just misleading, it's kind of insulting to all of us. And that's why I say you can never trust these unemployment numbers. But I want to read out to you an email that I received just last week that I got from a subscriber, because I get emails from subscribers every day of the week. In fact, I get far too many emails. Sometimes I won't just have 1,000 or 2,000 comments in a day. It can be another 1,000 right across social media. It can be hundreds of emails. But this one really struck a chord with me, so I want to read it out to you now. Okay, so it says here then, "Hi Neil, thanks for your videos. They really help me to keep a level head in this crazy world." This is from a man called John, by the way. "Something you said recently about jobs and income really struck a chord with me. I'm 37 years old and live in my van." And by the way, this is what I get a lot. A lot of people living in their van, living in their cars, or they don't have a permanent home. "I've worked the last few years as a carpenter, mainly doing odd jobs here and there using my hands and woodworking skills. My income isn't high, it's just about $17,000 a year. But this year has been really hard after criminals broke into my van and stole my tools. The police wouldn't even investigate. They said they needed 4 pieces of evidence and they only had 3, just like you talked about with your van." I should probably just add a bit of context here. So John's obviously been a subscriber for a long time. He's probably watching this video now. Like many of you will know that when I had a van stolen, even though I had evidence, I told them the description of everything, the police wouldn't investigate. They didn't even open a case. It was open and closed within 24 hours for lack of evidence, even though there was loads of evidence. So that's the context here. They never investigated, even though my van was stolen. Okay, he continues on then. "I'm trying to buy back my tools at the moment, mainly on Facebook Marketplace, as and when I see a good deal. But my funds are so tight because I can't work without my tools." So you see where this is going? It's a vicious cycle. It's like when someone loses their job and doesn't have savings, they kind of fall deeper and deeper into debt. And then the more they get into debt, the harder it becomes. So we can see where this is going. He says, "But it's tough. I don't qualify for any benefits or unemployment due to my income, but where can I live that isn't a rundown apartment in a crime-ridden area on $17,000 a year? Everything is a lie. They lie to us about everything and then make us into criminals for even speaking out against crime. I just feel lost, but your videos are helping. I wish I could buy your cash flow course, but money is so tight. Best regards, John." And it is hard, you know, it is hard when I get these emails all the time, because I really want to be able to help everyone, you know? I really do. I want to be able to help as many people as I possibly can, but I can't help everyone, even though I do try my best here. But you'll be pleased to know that John has now got a full set of tools again. We did help him out with that. And I've given him access to the cash flow program, which he mentioned there. So he can, and I've even said this to John, not just learn how to double his income this year now, but also he can help other people, because he's obviously a skilled carpenter. So what I've asked him, and what I'd say to all of you, if you have a skill and you can help people in some way, then maybe you can create what I do and create digital courses. And then you can teach these skills to other people and they will pay you to learn these skills. You don't need to charge huge amounts of money for the course. It depends what your goals are. And quite honestly, if you'd like access to that course as well, you know, I can't give it to everyone for free. It's not something I'm looking to do because a lot of people have paid for it. And it really only goes on sale once or twice a year, usually on Black Friday. What I will do today is I will knock off a massive amount off the recommended retail price of the program. So if that's of interest to you, you can look below in the description and just have a look at that, go onto the page and see if it's right for you. And also remember, you've still got time to get your hands on the gold and silver program that I've created for you, but that pre-sale will be ending very soon. So again, the links are below in the description. So I do try my best to help as many people as possible. And I hope that with me spending, you know, so much of my time every single day making these programs, making these videos, it does help in some way. Because I really think we all have our sort of purpose and we have our visions as to how we want to help as many people as we possibly can. For me, that's with courses. That's what I do. I make courses for you, whether that's to help you make money or whether it's to protect your money or whatever. You know, there's different courses for different people. But I think we all help in our own ways. And I think that's really, really important that we do. But coming back then, you know, John's story isn't unique to me at least. This is the new normal for many of us living in Western nations. Cities in particular are just going downhill at a rapid rate. I had to get out of the city. I couldn't live there anymore. The crime is just out of control. And of course, you know, inflation has just been eating everyone alive for the past few years as well, eating your savings away. You know, even basic food products are up as much as 50% in just the last few years. And what about consumer sentiment? That means how people view the economy. It's crashing. In fact, the University of Michigan's index just dropped to 50.8. That is the second lowest reading ever recorded in history. Why? Because the average American knows this economy just isn't working anymore. And look, this isn't a dig at President Trump. It's not. I don't want anyone to think that's what I'm doing in this video. This is simply the end of this current economic or monetary cycle. I won't overcomplicate that. If you've watched my other videos, you'll understand it's kind of complex. But you know, this cycle has been in play for almost a century, since the end of World War II. It did well, it peaked, and now it's on the decline, and it can't be saved. It simply can't. That is what a fiat system is. Fiat Latin for let it be so. It is the end. You can't fix it. And I guess that kind of brings me on to my second point, and that is that we're now living in this system that is broken, and that's why so many people try but can't seem to fix it. I mean, how do you even run a business? Let's shift to business owners a moment. How do you even run a business right now, wherever you are in the world, when the rules of doing business keep changing on a day-by-day basis? And I'm not just specifically talking about the tariffs right now. How do you even have job security against a backdrop of instability and not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring for the company you either own or that you work in? What about the UK government killing jobs by overtaxation? Jobs are just dropping off a cliff. 10% in job openings just in 1 month have dropped off. You know, one day there's tariffs, but the next day there's, you know, court that strikes them all down. Then a day later, another court puts them back in place. It is absolute chaos right now. And these decisions are affecting the entire world. People are playing with fire. Politicians are playing with fire. You know, businesses need stability. But we're living in this time now of legal and political turmoil where it's judges, not elected leaders, who are making economic decisions. This is not something they should be making. These decisions should be made by experts, you know, world-class economists and policymakers, not judges who don't have any sort of insight into how economics works. And then in the meantime then, businesses are paralyzed, waiting, unsure. They're purging money, they're hiring, they're firing, they're bringing in so much inventory, they're wasting the inventory. It is a complete mess, my friends. And in fact, the US has already shifted into contraction mode now. According to the official statistics from the Commerce Department of the US government, The GDP, that's the gross domestic product, shrank by 0.2% in the first 3 months of this year. And that was even before the trade war started heating up again. So who knows what these readings are going to be for April, May and June. You know, if you just look at the first 3 months, Jan, Feb and March, who knows what these readings are going to be. We then have this kind of third point that's intertwining with this. This is the trade collapse and the Chinese tensions here. And this is where things get even more serious. In April, US imports collapsed by $68.4 billion. This was the single largest month decline in American history. And it didn't bounce back in May either. I could give you loads of examples, but the port of LA, Los Angeles, reported a 30% drop in imports during the last week of May. Now remember, this is where the pauses have already sort of happened. Of course, there's a lead time to get the supplies there, but the same happened with the Seattle-Tacoma ports. That's not just a trade slowdown, that's just a massive red alert going on. You might say, well, what's causing this, Neil? What's causing it? Yeah, it's tariffs, but it's also uncertainty. And now there's a new round of rising tensions with China. President Trump had given China a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs as part of a negotiating period. But if you read he puts out a lot of posts, right? But if you read the post last week where he says that China violated the deal, in fact, I don't remember his exact sort of tweet or post, but it was something like, China has violated its agreement with us, so much for me being Mr. Nice Guy, right? Again, I'm paraphrasing there. But the US Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer, actually backed this up, saying China was slow rolling their compliance and it was completely unacceptable. But it isn't just China that's sort of, what does he call it? Slow rolling the compliance. The European Union's doing it as well. They are deliberately causing instability with the United States. Deliberately doing it. And meanwhile, China's threatening the US over arms sales to Taiwan at the same time. They're calling it a red line that must not be crossed. Now, I think it was J.D. Vance that responded with a strong statement again just a few days ago, more support for Taiwan. So this is only poking the bear further. What we're seeing is this massive sort of instability happening and this conflict getting even worse between these two superpowers, the US and China. And of course, remember the US has 500 troops stationed in Taiwan, which China wants them to remove. So look, I'm not saying we're on the brink of war here, but we are walking towards a cliff in kind of, I guess you could say, broad daylight here. That's what we're seeing. And if this trade war escalates again between now and August, we could see even more severe chaos at the ports. We could see higher prices, worsening supply chain disruptions. This means a knock-on effect for a lot of businesses. And again, I'm talking about the US a little bit here, but this applies to Europe and the UK and other countries as well. You know, so let me just sort of leave you on a positive note though. I want to just give you a way forward with this. Where does this leave the average person then? Neil, what can I get from this video? Maybe you are functionally unemployed. Maybe you're working harder than ever and you're still barely keeping your head above water. You know, I get it, I really do. This is not the country that we grew up in, if you're my age or older, and what we grew up believing in. You know, I'm as patriotic as the next man. I really am. And history really tells us that things always turn around. That's what I'll say as a huge historian, an economic and just general historian. But it might not be pretty. That's what I'll say, this turnaround. So just remember that we're not powerless, especially when we act as a group. We can always make choices to better our tomorrow, whether these choices are external or internal, you know, whether we protest or whether we focus on our own security and personal growth and education and income. You know, we always have a choice. We're not powerless here. Yes, the middle class is being crushed. It's being decimated, actually. But it doesn't mean we have to just lie down and take it. In times like this, we always have a choice. We have the choice to do something or do nothing. I would say in times like this, the best thing you can do is double down. Get educated, like, you know, thousands of you have done already with my training programs, and it always surprises me when I say that. Thousands of you have taken my programs now. It's unbelievable. You know, you increase your income, you protect your savings, you increase your savings, you know, you increase your investments, and you learn how to operate within this volatile instability kind of period. You know, you protect what you've already built up, your pension, your savings. And honestly, that is what I'm here to help you with. Truly. That's why I make these videos, I make these courses. Because, you know, it doesn't matter how good your politician is or how much you love, you know, your leader or whoever. No one's coming to save you. Only you can save yourself and your family. And you'll probably even come out on the other side stronger than ever, I would say. Because, you know, tough times create strong men, of course. And women. I'm sure there's women watching as well. So just because the world's collapsing around us, it doesn't mean you have to go down with the, you know, go down with the ship, as it were. So keep going, keep taking these programs that I'm making for you, keep building up what you earn, increasing your income, save every penny you can. If you're lacking income, you know, take the cash flow program I mentioned. It's really unlimited in what you can earn through the cash flow program because of the digital nature of scale. But, you know, if you have money on the other side, I'd say, but you're concerned about protecting it, or your pension, take the gold and silver program. So it doesn't matter which camp you sit in, you know, there's a program for you there, and the links are below. Both are on sale right now. So there's a solution. That's what I'm saying. You've just got to be willing to take that solution, whether for you or whether for your family, you know, and only if it's right for you. I say to everyone, don't take my programs if it's not right for you. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee anyway, and if you don't think that program's right, I'll just swap you on to another program. But, you know, there's 11 programs. I'm sure one will be right for you. But in effect, just get started. Truly, just get started. That is the key. And other than that, thank you so much for watching today. I really just want to say I hope you have a blessed year. Take care. God bless you. God bless your family. Thanks for being a subscriber here, and I will see you on the next video.